To you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
Oh, I just basically read that headline. The States has added 119,000 jobs despite only expecting 50,000, and the federal government is down 3,000 jobs. Some good numbers.
Yeah, they've had a few good jobs. But overall, though, it's not that good in the last few months. This guy, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. This guy, Eric Doherty, or Doherty, however he pronounces it, he is a bona fide, like 100% orange-colored slave. He is just completely enslaved to Donald Trump. He's not somebody that you should ever take seriously. But they did have a good report, and they've had some really good reports actually, the Americans, but they've also had some quite bad ones. And inflation looks a bit bad in America lately, which obviously this slave would never mention. But their economy it's like, for all that, after that throat clearing, the American economy is light years ahead of Canada's, to be honest. But still, it's not as perfect as these people would have you believe.
Alrighty. Toyota CEO goes full mega at the NASCAR event as carmaker unveils a $912 million investment in U.S. manufacturing.
Absolutely, just remarkable, isn't it? Really, it's things like this. Like it's hard to believe that this is real and that we're actually in the real world. But obviously, he thought that was a good idea. I guess, Toyota, they're sort of too big to fail, aren't they? You can't just like boycott Toyota.
Yeah.
It's one of those companies. So, but if you do this, Donald Trump and some of Donald Trump's supporters are so gullible that it might actually work wonders for Toyota. Just doing this thing here might actually be worth billions of dollars.
You might not be wrong. Japan is enforcing strict new immigration rules. If you are illegal, you'll be deported. If you break the law, you'll be deported. If you don't follow local customs, that's a bit more subjective, you'll be deported. If you don't respect Japanese culture, you'll be deported. This person's asking, can we do the same here? I think we should be deporting the illegals and the lawbreakers, but...
Don't want to infringe on their human rights, though, of course. But do we have this, is this a video of this woman?
I was actually driving Jim to the airport to go to Japan, so I have not seen these stories.
一部の外国人による違法行為やルールからの逸脱に対して毅然と対応して国民の皆様の不安や不公平感を解消しなくてはいけないというのがあるんですね。そういう悪いことをする人は一人も日本にはいませんと。
There we go, moving it up. Start it over.
一部の外国人による違法行為やルールからの逸脱に対して毅然と対応して国民の皆様の不安や不公平感を解消しなくてはいけないというのがあるんですね。そういう悪いことをする人は一人も日本にはいませんと。ちゃんとルールと法を守っている人しか日本にはいないんですよっていう状況を作らないと。
小野田大臣は外国人との共生について、ルールを守って暮らす外国人の方々が住みづらくなることはあってはならないとした上で、ルールと法を守る人しか日本にいない状況を作ると述べました。また、外国人受け入れの厳格化と人手不足とのバランスについては、我が国は不法就労、不法滞在を許さないと指摘した上で、適法ではない方々にしっかりと帰ってもらう、そういう人たちを入れないことと、適法に活躍し
Do you think they're getting sick of the Aussie snowboarders?
No, I don't. But I really love. I just have bottomless admiration for the Japanese people. Not because of the story, but how funny was that? The contrast of what she was saying and how she was saying it. It sounded like a sort of in-flight message, didn't it? Like the safety instructions, but she was talking about deporting foreigners. Yeah, Japan is just
language.
amazing. It's what a cool country. But yeah, the sort of context to that, rather than just fawning over our Japanese friends, the context is that Japan is a dying country. It might well die out completely, which would be very sad, given what I just said about how cool they are. But they've stopped having babies.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute catastrophe and a tragedy. And it's also happening here in this country, obviously, and many other countries around the world. But they've basically run out of young people. You know, famously in Japan, adult diapers it's a bigger business than baby diapers, because that gives you an idea of the kind of what's left of Japan and the people of Japan. So in that environment, they felt that they had to bring in foreigners, immigrants, to come and shore up, the labor market. But I don't know if you've seen the videos, but there's been a lot of videos and news stories and things out of Japan the last sort of 4 or 5 years of immigrants behaving badly and not understanding Japan's very particular cultural mores and rules, and the Japanese don't like it. So now they're saying, nah.
They were the country that avoided globalism for the longest. Their culture has been very protected, and sad to see.
Well, the Japanese, that's another thing about context. If you want a historical context, the Japanese under the Tokugawa shogunate, for very long time, they basically banned foreigners. They relegated them to a little island. I think it's off Osaka, near Osaka, and it was just full of like Dutch people. I think it was the Dutch were the only ones that they would let, even on that island. Like, they were very strict about not having foreigners get involved, and they were obviously very hostile to Christianity, which they saw as kind of undermining their culture. So they have a history of being, some people say xenophobic, but I mean, another way to look at it is that they were very insistent on protecting their sort of cultural integrity, and they didn't want foreign interference. Even to the point where during that time, the Tokugawa shogunate, they actually expelled people who were half Japanese and half Dutch or something like that, like mixed people of mixed origins. They got rid of them. They sent them all off, and I think they went to Taiwan or something like that. But the Japanese have a long history of kind of just saying they're having enough of foreigners and saying, like, everybody get out kind of thing, like, party's over.
And they have maintained a unique culture. United States is also, Supreme Court clears way for rapid deportations as well. I think we've got a video.
Fox News alert. The Supreme Court just cleared the way for Trump to deport illegals even faster. The High Court ruled that Trump can use the Alien Enemies Act to send Venezuelan gangbangers to a mega prison in El Salvador. This is a huge ruling in Trump's favor and a major win for the country after, as you know, D.C. Judge James Boasberg ordered a stop to the deportations. So this is pretty significant. These deportations, Caroline, can keep going.
This is a massive legal victory, Jesse, a massive victory for law and order and for our constitutional republic and the sovereignty of the United States of America. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who was completely out of line in trying to say that the president didn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists off of our soil. We have always maintained the position at the White House that the president was well within his constitutional authority to do so. And this decision proves that President Trump and our administration have always been right from the beginning. He will continue to utilize the Alien Enemies Act to remove foreign terrorists and Tren de Aragua members.
I liked the technical term gangbangers. Get rid of all the gangbangers.
They love that, don't they, in America?
Yeah.
She's looking a lot more serious. This is a completely fatuous point, but she looks a lot more serious with her hair back there, doesn't she? A lot less silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Americans are trying to give the impression anyway that they're hard as nails on this kind of thing, on deportations. But if you look at a right critique of this administration. So people who are very hard on immigration, they say that actually they've done nothing and that this is all just garbage. It's all for show. And some of those voices, like the now ubiquitous Nick Fuentes, are extremely popular and have lots and lots of followers. And he, for ages now, I mean, he's not, in my opinion, not a particularly serious person, but people do treat him very seriously. But for a long time, he's been saying that there's just no serious effort to deport people, and it's not going to do anything. It's not going to make any difference. So in that context of people like him sniping from the right, they want to give the impression that they're like, gung-ho and they're going to deport everyone, but it's yet to actually happen.
And we've got more breaking news from the States. Newly released campaign finance records show that from 1990 to 2018, Epstein directed about 89% of his political donations to Democratic and progressive causes. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Chuck Schumer being some notable recipients. Not surprised by that.
Yeah, well, he gave massive amounts of money to Hillary Clinton's Senate campaign all those years ago, back when Hillary Clinton, when her star was rising. But he was generally more favorable to the Democrats, but
and famously very favorable to Israel.
Indeed, yeah, and obviously his partner in crime and lover, Ghislaine Maxwell, is the daughter of a man who is venerated in Israel and theorized, at least, to have been on the payroll of the Mossad or the Israeli government.
Mm-hmm. And Elon Musk, why a 1 terawatt AI is impossible on Earth. What's he got to say there? Do we have a video?
My estimate is that actually that the cost of electricity, like the cost effectiveness of AI in space, will be overwhelmingly better than AI on the ground. So long before you exhaust potential energy sources on Earth, long before, meaning like I think even perhaps in the 4 or 5 year time frame, the lowest cost way to do AI compute will be with solar powered AI satellites. So I'd say not more than 5 years from now.
Wow. And just look at the supercomputers we're building together. Let's say each one of the racks is 2 tons. Out of that 2 tons, 1.95 of it is probably for cooling.
Right.
Just imagine how tiny that little supercomputer is, right? Each one of these GB300 racks will just be a little tiny thing.
And just electricity generation is already becoming a challenge. So if you start doing any kind of scaling for both electricity generation and cooling, you realize, okay, space is incredibly compelling. So, like, let's say you wanted to do.
And I've heard arguments made that Canada, our northern territory, could be a good place to put these AI supercomputers.
Pierre Poilievre has made that argument. I don't know how much he actually knows about it, but he's made that argument. So has Danielle Smith, who I think knows a little bit more. It is interesting. I mean, certainly it's a bit easier, isn't it, to get to northern Canada than it is to get to the moon or something. It's like, oh, I forgot to turn on
the energy back.
That button.
Yeah.
Easier to repair if it's in Canada, but I think Elon has just got immense amounts of ambition, hasn't he, for everything in his life, but when it comes to space exploration. So I think he probably likes the idea of it just as an excuse to go into space.
Yeah.
Have a colony on the moon or something like that, because he's always trying to think of justifications for being there.
Humanity off of Earth. Yeah. Cynically, sometimes I wonder if all this backpedaling on climate change is because we need to generate so much energy for the AI. But
there's no doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that's bang on.
Yeah. And then more bad news for our beloved Britain. Seriously tough economic times ahead. Let's listen in.
I wonder if you think the UK is on its way to being uninvestable. simple answer is yes. I don't particularly like the guy, but I was watching a video by Dominic Cummings about the A66 in North England, and they've got this is an 18-mile stretch of road where they want to move it from single carriageway to dual carriageway. And the UK system is going to take 30 years to do that. I could, if I was allowed to build it in 9 months. So long as the UK takes 30 years to do a 9-month project, it's uninvestable.
Magda? I've spent the last 5 years commuting between UK and South Africa. I've got business here and that venture capital business in the UK. I've just come back to South Africa. Uninvestable. That government is, between the socialism, and I don't know how right the statistic is, but close enough. 25% of the working population in the UK is on social benefits. If you've got anxiety disorder, you can get social benefits. So when you've got a population, and then think about Brexit, which has basically eliminated the skills that were coming into the UK. So that's gone. Find
a lot of parallels to Canada there.
Massively, yeah. But like I've said a number of times, Britain is in a worse position because it doesn't have the same sort of advantages to lean on. It doesn't have like massive amounts of natural resources and things like that, and it doesn't have hydroelectricity. So it hasn't got the dams that the ancestors built. It's just, it's trying to make a living the hard way.
And it
isn't really doing very well.
I think we've seen social programs through to their end in Britain. It's not really a success.
Well, she said people with anxiety get benefits. Famously, the Motability, if you're bothered, if you're interested in the British political scene, read about Motability. There are people who have ADHD. There are people who have agoraphobia. Can you believe it? Who are given basically a free car, like a new, and sometimes quite nice ones, like BMWs and things.
The house?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the country it's extraordinarily diseased.
Of giving any woman who had a baby, they were giving them council houses for a long time too. I think, yeah.
Certainly, they're giving council houses to Afghan refugee claimants, but particularly Afghans, because they had a special program for Afghans, and they were put ahead of British citizens, including, I think it was in Birmingham, there was a story that really sort of shamed people because the guy was a veteran. He'd fought, I think, in Afghanistan or somewhere, or Iraq, and he couldn't get it home, and it sort of drove him to suicide in the end. There's so many stories like that in Britain. But they mentioned the roads, A66. That's the road that goes from the sort of northeast to the northwest of England. But the other one that Dominic Cummings, who he mentioned there, has complained. Dominic Cummings complained so much about the A1, and that's like an even more important road because that's the road. That's one of two roads that goes down the spine of England, basically, like London to Edinburgh. And between the last sort of major city in England and then Edinburgh, so the first major city that you hit in Scotland, it's for long stretches of that, it's just single carriageway. It's a single lane road in each direction with no barrier between. Jim often complains about the state of the Trans-Canada Highway. The A1 in England is just like a national humiliation, and it can't be expanded, even though it's like extremely dangerous. Lots of people die on that road, but they just can't do it because they just can't do anything, as these people say, because there's just the system is just set up to block everything, and blockers have every advantage, and so the country stagnates.
Pipelines. It's uninvestable.
Exactly. It's very, very, very similar, and it makes me, it causes me lots of concern that Mark Carney and the Liberals in general seem to be so fascinated with Britain. So many of them got their education there in Britain, and they're so connected to the country. And I find that really unnerving, because I feel in some ways like I've almost came from the future, because I've come here from Britain and I've seen how bad those ideas are when they're put into practice. And now there's a lot of gullible Canadian elites who are like, yes, and the United Kingdom has done this, so we're taking notes. And I'm just like, no, please don't do the same thing. Don't make the same mistakes they did.
Yeah, they are a bit of a crumbling empire. Beloved Christian.
Empire. Not much of an empire left.
Yeah, well, that's why it's crumbled.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.